Hey there, Westchester University alumni. Welcome in to Ramblings Live. My name is Justin Sachoka, and it's so good to see you here on what is becoming a beautiful spring back here in Westchester, Pennsylvania. Wherever you are joining us, we hope that you're enjoying what is hopefully springtime weather for you as well. Today's show on Ramblings Live, I'm super excited for because our guest is somebody that I met when I first went to Westchester back in, I think I was a sophomore. I think it was in 2011. And at the time, she was Mayor Carolyn Comitta. But 10 years later, she has a different title. And we today are talking to Senator Carolyn Comitta. Now, I don't even need to go into a big introduction. I think we all know exactly who she is. So we're going to bring her right in here. We want as much time with her as possible. Senator, thank you so much for being here and joining us today. How are you?
I'm great, Justin. I am so delighted to be with you again. I can't tell you.
I am so incredibly
It's like
excited.
old times.
It is like old times. I've been looking forward to this for so long now. I saw your name on the docket a couple of months ago, and I've been counting down the days until you and I got to jump on here for Ramblings Live. How's everything been going with you?
Well, of course, here we are in the 13th month of a pandemic. So,
Yeah.
like everyone, it's been up and down and all over, and, losses and joys. And, one of the things one of my neighbors and I were talking about was the idea of the importance of all walks. Where, I've been walking all over Everhart Park, all over the university, and, just finding beautiful things. And I remember last spring, now here we are another spring, noticing every new bud, every new flower. So, there are those little joys everywhere, but it's been a really up and down time for everybody. And, so I hope that everyone who's listening today is well and your families are well, and that we're taking good care of ourselves.
So where is it that you're joining us from right now?
My kitchen, my office, my home office. I actually have, you can't see it, but I have my office chair I brought in here. I was first sitting in my kitchen chairs. I said, and I'm adding cushions, and then I got books stacked and all that. And I said, this is not good. I think I'm going to be here a while. I need a serious office chair. So I'm sitting on an office chair in my office, in my kitchen.
I think so many of us obviously can relate to how our kitchen, which was before where the family gathered, it's now where we do everything. Everybody, my kitchen island is usually my go-to spot. Put out the laptop and type away all day long, and then you end up eating where you're working. It's a crazy world that we live in right now, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let me start off with, I know that you're in Westchester right now. I want to go right back to the beginning. Where are you from, born and raised? Because, of course, you went to Westchester University and you graduated from there. But where did it all start off from you? Are you a Westchester native?
Almost. Not quite.
Okay.
Not quite.
Not quite.
No, I was born in Buffalo, New York.
Okay.
And then my family moved to West Goshen, right next to the borough of Westchester, when I was 2. And so I have lived in the Westchester mailing address all of my adult life.
Wow. I mean, that you were pretty much born and raised close to it. Born in Buffalo, New York, but you're very close to the Westchester, being a Westchester native for sure. Do you have a lot of family up in Buffalo still? Do you go up there a lot?
No, I was there, went to see Niagara Falls and, but there was no family there. I have no idea what we were doing.
Yeah, what were you doing up there?
Well, actually, my mother was born in Toronto. And so there was which is not too far, there's a connection there. But then my father yes, indeed. My father got a job at DuPont in Wilmington. And then, so my parents moved to Westchester. Yeah.
So they came over to Westchester, the town where you would then become mayor.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Isn't that nuts to think about?
Yeah.
You grew up in Westchester. I'm assuming you went to school in Westchester as well?
I went to Fernhill Elementary School. I went to Stetson It was then junior high school. But then my family moved to West Bradford Township, Westchester mailing address, Downingtown School District. So from 8th grade to 12th grade. So I was graduated from Downingtown High School. I'm a mighty whippet from Downingtown when there was only one high school.
How many high schools are in Downingtown now?
Two.
Are there two?
One real one and then the other. No, the original and the new one. That's right.
I'm from a very small town, Clark Summit, Pennsylvania, and I cannot believe how Westchester has multiple high schools to it, because my town, it took 7 towns to make up my one high school. My school district, people would be on a bus 45 minutes away just to come to high school. And even with those 7 towns, I graduated with 274 people. So for me, coming to Westchester was amazing because it was just so heavily populated. There were so many different high schools. It was so cool to see that difference, even though it's only 2.5 hours away. Now, of course, throughout your time, you've seen Westchester change drastically. I find it interesting because for me, I was looking to get out of Scranton any way possible. When I graduated high school, I said, I'm going out, and I ended up at Westchester University. You have a little bit of a different story, though, because you grew up in the area and then you ended up going to school at Westchester. How did that all come about?
Well, I always knew I wanted to be a teacher.
Okay.
And but my freshman year, Justin, I spent at Muhlenberg College in Allentown.
Didn't know that. Okay.
Yes. So then, and then, number of reasons I said, I really need to be in Westchester. So I transferred to Westchester. So I was a sophomore transfer student to Westchester. And so I did spend that one school year in Allentown, but but other than that, I have lived in the borough of Westchester almost my entire life. And yeah.
So when you were going to Westchester, were you living on campus? Were you off campus? What was your situation there?
Both.
Okay.
I lived in Goshen Hall, which is still there, right?
I was in Tyson. I was your neighbor.
7th floor. Okay. Yeah, Tyson was not there when I.
Oh, it wasn't there.
No.
Okay, never mind. I wasn't your neighbor.
No, you were not. No, now you would be my neighbor.
Yeah.
7th floor, and had a wonderful group of young women that I lived with up there. But then I also lived on West Minor Street off campus my senior year. And that's like, a couple blocks from where I live today, which is really crazy. It's wonderful.
That's awesome. I went to Westchester and never left. I came to Westchester and fell in love with it.
We don't ever want you to leave.
No one ever wants to leave Westchester.
That's true.
Everyone wants to stay there.
That's
when
right.
When you were here, you mentioned how you wanted to become a teacher your entire life. I would assume that that was your major. I would assume that you were an education major.
Yes. Yeah.
Tell us about that path.
Well, I don't know. I mean, for some reason, from a very young age, I would, line up my brother and my sister in these desks and boss them. Yeah, I was the oldest, of course, and boss them into, I was their teacher. Okay, right. So I had a little practice there, but and my focus was special education. So. And of course, Westchester, then and now was known for its education program. So it was a perfect fit for me. And then I was graduated and August of the year I was graduated, I got a job in the Octorara School District. So I was able to go right from Westchester to my first job. But while I was at Westchester, I also had a chance to do some tutoring. I had a wonderful opportunity in Coatesville, the city of Coatesville, I believe it was at the time their community center.
Okay.
And I would go once a week and work with some of the children there. So I love that. And now Coatesville is in my Senate district. So I love
There you
that.
go. Full circle.
Yes. Yeah.
So when you were going to school and you were studying to become, or you were an education major, you wanted to go and become a teacher, you got your job right after that. What grade were you teaching?
I was hired to be a teacher for grades 4 and 5 at the time. They had it set up.
Okay.
It was an elementary school, then an intermediate school, and the intermediate in Octorara started in 6th grade. So I was the 4th and 5th grade special education teacher. So I developed programs and taught special education for 3 years. Then in 1976, which sounds like a long, long time. It was a long time ago. The state not that long ago. Believe me, not that long ago. The state of Pennsylvania mandated that each school district develop and provide programs for gifted and talented students, which is also a facet of special education. I think there was a chapter in one of my books at Westchester about gifted and talented education. But so I was tapped to start the program for the primary grades in Octorara. And it was a wonderful opportunity because I got to work with all of the other teachers who had been tapped in all the different Chester County school districts to talk about, what will our programs look like? What training do we need? So we were sent to a couple of trainings on gifted programs for gifted and talented. Then through the Chester County IU, we would meet regularly and modeled each other's programs. So I got to meet a wonderful group of people. And of course, none of us knew what we were doing, right? We were not making it up. Well, sort of.
To some degree, I'm sure. Yeah.
There were other states that had already developed programs for gifted and talented students. So we were able to learn from them. But
what an amazing opportunity, though.
It was fantastic. So then I went from primary grades to the 4th and 5th, as I said. And behind me, they hired a teacher for the gifted program for primary grades. Okay. I created and taught 4th and 5th gifted classes for a couple of years. Then they hired somebody and moved me up to the intermediate school, 6th, 7th, and 8th. 5 through 8. And I developed that program and I stayed there. And so that was where I finished out my time teaching in Octorara, and I loved every minute of it. Some of those students, Justin, like you, who I've known for years and years, some of those students started out with me in 1st grade in the gifted program. And then as I moved up, they moved up. So some of them cool. I had for 8 years. We were together, and many of them are still in my life.
That's amazing. How long were you a teacher for altogether?
12 years.
12 years. Oh, wow.
And then our son was born, and I decided that, we all need to know what we're good at and what we're not good at. And I thought, for me, I was all in with my students, and I thought, I think it's better if I'm all in for my child while he's little, and then our daughter was born a couple of years later. So that was a good choice for me.
Well, that's great. I mean, it's amazing that you were able to do that for 12 years. You had that connection. I mean, I still know Mrs. Yurnosky, 3rd grade. That's who I'm Facebook friends with her now. I keep up with her still. I mean, you have these teachers that are so important to so many people throughout not just the time that they're at school, but their entire life. And it's so unique that Westchester University has such an amazing education program. Because I just think back to the people that I know that I went to school with, and the decades and decades of people that have become teachers, and the amount of lives that they have impacted for the better throughout that. It's really amazing that all of this stems right from WCU. It's really a pretty unique situation that we are
Quite.
surrounded by.
Yes, it's quite a legacy. I mean,
Sure.
you look at you, Justin, right? And me and all of our alums, and really the world is a better place, and
No doubt.
our schools and our communities. Yeah, because of our
So
WCU alums.
let's talk a little bit more about WCU. What were
Yeah.
you involved in when you were there? When you were at Westchester? What type of things did you do extracurricular wise?
As I said, most of what I did was in my, around my major. So,
Okay.
tutor. I also had some private, individual students that I tutored. I would go to their homes and help them. And then I went to the
Okay.
community center in Coatesville. But at the time, I was not in the music and theater and all of those things that I wish I had done, but that was not a part of my experience at Westchester, sadly, until I became mayor. And then I
was just going to say, you were always
involved in everything.
incredibly involved when I was there. And I have a picture here. When I was at Westchester University, you stopped by WC Weekly, which is the show that I was
This was my birthday.
Yes,
and you know what? Because then I got balloons.
You did. There's the balloons and the cake. Fantastic memory there. Way to go.
Love that.
That was your birthday.
Isn't that sweet? That's so sweet.
I mean,
I did all my extracurricular once I became mayor, Justin, and I was all in. I'm still am.
How was it different, though? I mean, was it different when you were at campus? Because I just think back to the time when I was there, where I think they were advertising there was like 220 clubs that you could be a part of. And now today there's like 400 clubs that you can be a part of. What did the campus footprint look like from the extracurricular at the time? Did you kind of have to go create your own stuff, or there wasn't as much available? Are students taking that for granted right now that there is a plethora? How is it different?
Well, I don't think I don't know if the students are taking it for granted, but I think the students today really appreciate and get engaged. And I mean, I see them, and you've got your over 1 million hours of volunteer service. I mean, so there is that culture at WCU now. When let's remember that when I was at Westchester, it was during the Vietnam War. And it was a time, I mean, the world changed very quickly. So I was graduated from Downingtown in 70, and then away in 71, and then at Westchester in 72. But at that time, and there were other people who were in the marching band. The marching band was amazing then, and it's even more incomparable now.
Yeah.
But it was, during the Vietnam War, we went from being, if the college and even high school experience being real like rah-rah fun and all kinds of activities to, we were very serious about the war, about protesting the war. Then there was Kent State and students were killed. It was almost, at least for me, I felt like I should be doing more serious things, not serious extracurricular, like helping students. And do you see what, I mean?
Yes,
so I think that is, but I'm sure some of my friends who were there at the time would tell you, oh, they were in this, that, and the other thing. But that was my own personal experience.
Well, do you think that your experience there, because let's transition into what you do today. You're a senator today. Let's talk about how has that, do you think, maybe had an imprint on you or an impression on you for your work today, being the mayor, being a representative, becoming a senator? How did that happen? Tell us that story.
Well, I would say that being in a helping profession, shall we say, and there are many helping professions, and we have been so aware of them during the pandemic, haven't we? And we found, the helpers in our community, and became aware of them in ways we hadn't even thought of before. But teaching is certainly, one of the helping professions.
Without a doubt.
And so is politics, also a public service and a helping profession. So I always had an affinity for public service.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, after I don't know, maybe I learned that when I was younger, watching my mother, who was always helping take care of people in need at Thanksgiving, and, you know, so I sort of watched her, and then being a Girl Scout, and doing those things. So, but being a teacher was always something I wanted to do. So which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Who knows? But I always liked helping people. I would have never imagined, Justin, running for public office. Although, as speaking of Girl Scouts, this sweet third grader Girl Scout asked me when I was mayor, you know, did you always want to be mayor? And I said, well, no, actually, I wanted to be an astronaut, which is why that, in addition to being a teacher, I think I went from astronaut to teacher. I was like, okay, let's get real. Although, and I wanted to be the first woman on the moon. And you want to know what? There's still time. So I'm just saying.
It's never too late. Never too late.
Saying.
That's right.
So, but anyway, also as I was growing up, I was in the middle of the Cold War, right? Between the United States and the Soviet Union, and Khrushchev was the premier of the former Soviet Union. And that was such a huge thing in my mind. And I could never understand, why can't these people get along together, right? As a child, you go like, talk with each other and make friends. Sure. So I always used to picture, you know, come on, if I could just meet Nikita Khrushchev, we could become friends and everything would be fine. So I said to this third grade Girl Scout, I said, you know, I looking back, I think I wanted to be a diplomat. And you know what? I got my wish.
You did.
And I wanted to be sort of like the Secretary of State, right? Because I also was really interested in Kissinger. And I said I got my wish because the mayor is really sort of the Secretary of State of the borough. So I said, what a wonderful question she asked. So
that came around full circle then again.
But then how did I run? Because first I ran for borough council.
Okay. So it started at borough council.
Yes, I served one term, 4 years. But this is a WCU story that, well, no, actually the mayor part is. But basically to run for borough council, I was recruited. And until more recently, it was women often needed to be recruited to run for office. And when it's a long story, but I was recruited to run. And I said, I can't. And I was told, well, what's your excuse now? You said you couldn't before because your kids were home and now they're in college. So like, what's your excuse? And I said, all right, I'll think about it. But my excuse, Justin, was I was terrified that I couldn't do it.
Well, I was going to say, what were you afraid of?
I was afraid that I wouldn't be good enough and that I didn't know anymore how to be like a front of the stage leader, because while my children were growing up and I helping my husband in our business, helping support the work with the nonprofit I got involved with and still do at the United Nations. I was a behind the scenes support person. I said, I know how to do that. I'm good at that. Helping everybody else succeed, right? And
which I find so surprising, by the way, that because I all that I've known you, I've always thought of you as such an amazing leader. And to hear that you had that fear to jump in, I mean, I think there's probably people who are sitting and watching us right now who maybe have had their own fears, not necessarily about jumping into politics, but anything across the board. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I think it's so inspirational to hear you say how you had that fear, because you've always been fearless to me and to so many other people. So it's really interesting to hear that.
Yeah. It's so important. I agree, to know that sometimes, people who are leaders or in leadership positions have struggled with their own
Sure.
self-confidence and so on. And this is something I tell young women, and I've talked with some of the women in the sororities and other programs at the university and high school and middle school, especially young women, and talk about the confidence gap. And there's research and, in that, and how to be aware of that, and don't let it stop you. And so anyway, I talked with about 100 people, which is what I do before I make a decision like this. Am I good enough? Could I do a good job? Will I enjoy it? Will it be meaningful? And I said, okay, I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to do my best. And so I ran in a contested race. I won. I found out that I was really quite competitive, which I didn't realize. And that I loved meeting people and then becoming a council member. I loved it. You learn so much, as you know, when you're engaged at Westchester University, when you're engaged deeply in your community, you get to know people, the organization, the community better, and you love it more. So it adds value and joy to your own life. So here's the WCU story that I love to tell. So I was a council member. Now here's something else for, everyone listening that's important to know. So I ran for borough council president, and I thought my colleagues on council, and it's a council elected position, would elect me, because I had done a lot of good things the first 2 years and we were having new elections. Well, was I elected? No, I was not. And I was devastated. I'm sure, yeah. And I was really, I thought, well, okay, so shortly after that, I had lunch with Madeline Wing Adler, who was at the time president of Westchester University. Yeah. And there was there's now the Neal Street parking garage, right next to campus in a neighborhood, encroaching in a neighborhood. The neighbors were really upset. It was my ward that I represented. They were very upset. And there were talks of a lawsuit and so on. So I said, well, let me talk with President Adler and, let's see if we can resolve this and bring people together. Yeah. So we had lunch together. At the end of the lunch, she said, so Carolyn, what will you do next? Run for mayor? And I said, well, Madeline, why would I want to be mayor? The mayor doesn't have a vote. The mayor doesn't set policy. The action is all in borough council, right? Which is why I so, wanted to be president of council. And she said, well, it depends on who the mayor is, how the mayor leads. And I said, okay, tell me more. And she said, well, my father had been the mayor of our town that I grew up in Ohio for 30 years. She said, I can tell you that a mayor has a tremendous opportunity to bring people together to improve the community. So, of course, President Adler was talking with me, looking at me as a council member, trying to bring people together to improve the community with this parking garage issue. And so she planted that seed. She planted the seed. And I then talked with 100 people, as I always do. And would I be good enough? And could I do it? And all of this. And I decided that that I would do the best I could, and I would bring what I bring to the table. And then I ran and I won. And I was the first woman, first woman elected mayor of Westchester after 210 years. Isn't that amazing? That's incredible. That's nuts. Absolutely incredible. I know.
And I know that I and many other people are so thankful. Then I didn't realize that it was President Adler that did that and
Yes.
planted that seed there for
Yeah.
you, and gave you that little nudge and a little bit of encouragement to after it.
Mm-hmm.
But that obviously turned into a whole career in politics. Now at this point, you're a senator at this point right now. Now I know our time is the problem with myself and you is that
let's just spend the afternoon together.
I know. Let's talk all afternoon with this. I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I do want to go on a little bit longer to talk about how you became a senator, what your roles involve now. And something that I find also really cool is that a lot of your staff are alumni from Westchester University.
I think
so can you tell us
50%.
About half of them?
Well, and let me say, I don't ask that question when I interview people, and I don't make, but it's amazing. Here I believe I have the best staff in the Senate. And we kept looking around. We're like, wait a minute.
Everyone's Westchester.
Adam, Michael, Emily, Ethan, me, we're all Westchester alums.
So funny.
Of course.
That's awesome.
So, yeah. So, which is really fabulous. And so it's a nice connection.
Of course,
Where WCU Pratt, and you see I have my WCU
I
Pride
noticed that right away. I
yes.
did see that.
Oh, and you know what? Wait a minute. I also had something else here. Where's Rami? There he is.
Do you have Rami over there?
Oh yeah, hold on. So this goes in, thank you, my helpful assistant.
There we go.
Here's Rami, okay? My button for mayor, my button for Pennsylvania House of Representatives, and my button for senator. Yes, and Rami sits there and keeps me company. So anyway.
Good luck charm.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, indeed. So, but yeah, how did I get here? Well, I was recruited.
And also, I don't mean to interrupt, but can you explain, for anyone that doesn't know, what is a senator? What does a senator do, and how did you get there?
Well, a senator is the voice of the people who elect her, and represents the people of, in my case, District 19, which is about half of Chester County. Okay. Goes from Tredyffrin to Phoenixville to Coatesville to Oxford and the Maryland border, and and Octorara School District is in my district. So all the places that I've lived and worked and so on is pretty cool. So, but a senator there are two things that a House member and a senator do. We work in Harrisburg to promote, to introduce, and also to vote for legislature that will improve people's lives. And then in our district offices, what we do is we provide services, our staff and the senator and the House members. People can call us and we help with so many things. And you want to know, this is a really good tip for anyone who is watching and listening today. If you have any question about anything, my dog is lost, what do I do? I lost my driver's license is it has expired. I got to get it for tomorrow. What do I do? I have a tax form question, anything at all. Call your state senator, call your state representative, House member. We can help you. If we don't directly do that work, we know who does, and we'll send you to the county, local, or whatever. I didn't know that before I was a House member, and I wish I had known when I was your age.
I lost my driver's license, so I'm calling your office now.
You're going to call my office, and I found out during COVID, my driver's license was expired, and I was going someplace, and I said, I can't drive on an expired driver's license. So I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Oh, I'm going to call my office. So I said, what do I do with this? Anyway.
There you go.
We took care of it.
Fantastic.
We take care of everybody.
That's excellent. Yeah. So how did you get to become a senator in the quick abbreviated version? What led you to become the senator?
Well, Senator Dinniman, who had served this same district for 15 years, decided to retire. So
Okay.
when he decided to retire, I thought a lot about it, and I said, I'm in the House of Representatives. I love being in the House. I can serve and do a lot of good work there. But my number one, I believe in the Senate, and my goal in the Senate is to have an even greater reach and impact in fighting for the people I represent, and to further my work in fighting the climate crisis and working toward a clean energy future. Looking at you and your generation, my children, my grandchildren, and that sense of responsibility that comes with a desire for public service, I think is, I believe the Senate gives me perhaps a little bit more opportunity to impact those issues that I care so much about.
It's an amazing mission, and I know you're doing incredible work. You've always done incredible work, and so appreciate you taking the time to come here and chat with us for a little bit here on Ramblings Live. I do want to end on one last question, and that is for anybody. And it's usually we say for advice for students who are graduating, what would you give them? But I think I want to open it up to what advice would you give to Westchester University alumni and students who are going to make a big change? Because after chatting with you, you were a teacher for 12 years. You left that to raise your children, and then you decided to go back and to go into public service, and you made a big change. What advice would you give to somebody who is looking to make a big life change, whether that's graduation from school, if it's going after a new job, if it's leaving the current job that they're in to live or to raise their children? It's a little vague, but what would you tell that person?
Well, I would say a couple of things. And this is something I'm adding to what I often share with young people. I think during this pandemic, I've thought about this a lot. Be as compassionate and as kind to yourself as you are to the people around you. And I think that is so important. And then be as kind and compassionate to all the diverse community around you as you are, as you would like someone to do for you.
Sure.
But when I was mayor, I was the commencement speaker for the graduate program, graduate school. And I thought a lot about what advice, and it is relevant for your question as well. I always like to remind people to lead with your gifts. Choose what you love. And in everything that you do, think about leaving the world a little bit better.
Amazing advice. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that.
And that's what you and our WCU alums, I'm so proud. I can't tell you. And I know our alums are making the world a better place.
They most certainly are. And I know that so many of our alums, everybody at Westchester, is so proud of you and everything that you have done for the borough, for the town, for the community, and continue to do that. So thank you so much, Senator Comitta, for coming on to our Ramblings Live with us, for making Westchester University proud, and for continuing to help out everybody that you can with all the amazing work that you've been doing. We're so grateful to have you as part of the Westchester University alumni family, and to have for you to have taken a little bit of time to join us here today as well.
Justin, thank you so much. And I'm so proud of you. And it was delightful to get to spend some time together again.
It was excellent. So good to see you. And Senator Comitta, make sure that you stay tuned to our Facebook page, because right here is where more Ramblings Lives are going to take place. So we're going to sign off right now, but make sure you come on over back to our Westchester University Alumni Facebook page for more Ramblings Lives in the coming weeks.
Thank you, Justin.